The Silent Injectors, a true story, Ann Arbor VA Hospital, 1975. The nights in a hospital are the quietest kind of loud. The hum of fluorescent lights, the slow beeping of machines, the hiss of oxygen, and beneath it all, that fragile rhythm of human life, breaths drawn in, released, drawn in again, until suddenly, they aren't. In the summer of 1975, the halls of the Ann Arbor Veterans Administration Hospital held that kind of silence. The kind that doesn't just happen, it settles. Heavy, unexplained, because people were dying, and no one could understand why. At first, it was easy to miss. One patient here, another there. Older men, most of them veterans. They'd fought wars, survived battlefields that devoured younger, stronger men. They had made it home. But now, in sterile rooms meant for healing, they were dying without reason. Their charts looked clean, their vitals stable, and then a quiet gasp, a flicker, a final exhale. Doctors began to dread their morning rounds. Nurses whispered in the break rooms, trading stories with wide eyes and hushed voices. Some blamed bad luck. Others whispered of something darker, a presence, a pattern, a curse in the ward. And still, the deaths continued. One by one, the men slipped away. Some in the middle of the night, their faces calm, almost peaceful. Others wide-eyed, terrified, clutching at air that no longer filled their lungs. Their last breaths came without warning and without sound. Weeks turned into months, and the fear grew. There was no infection, no outbreak, no poison in the food, no errors on paper. But when pathologists looked deeper, when they examined the blood, they found something chilling, a paralytic agent, povulon. It was a drug used to still the body during surgery, to keep muscles from moving, including the lungs. Given in the wrong hands, it could silence a man completely. His heart would beat, his brain would scream, but his body would betray him. He would feel himself suffocating, unable to move, unable to call for help. His last breath stolen in eerie, merciless quiet. And somewhere in that silence, someone was watching. The hospital erupted into chaos. Investigators swarmed the halls, questioning every nurse, every doctor, every aide. The veterans' families demanded answers. How could men who had faced bullets and bombs die like this? Trapped in their beds, paralyzed, helpless? The suspicion fell fast and hard. Two names rose above the whispers, Filipina Narciso and Leonora Perez. Both were young, both were kind. Both had come from the Philippines to build a life in America, to serve with compassion in the most respected of callings. They were known for their gentleness, for the way they smiled at patients, for how they lingered just long enough to ask if someone was comfortable before moving on to the next bed. But in a climate heavy with fear and prejudice, their kindness became camouflage. Their accents became suspicious. Their presence unsettling. Some said the deaths followed them. Some said they were seen near the rooms before the alarms went off. And others, trembling from their own brushes with death, claimed they remembered a needle, an injection, a face. Soon the quiet gossip grew into an accusation. Federal agents arrived. Nurses were pulled from shifts and questioned for hours under blinding lights. Narciso and Perez were separated. Two women who had shared laughter and late-night coffee, now isolated, bewildered, terrified. The questions turned sharp, the tone cruel. How long had they planned this? Who told them to do it? Did they hate the veterans? Did they want revenge? They denied everything, over and over. But their pleas were drowned beneath headlines that screamed angel of death nurses and poison in the VA hospital. The city of Ann Arbor was divided. Some saw them as monsters in white. Others saw them as victims of a system that had already decided what they were guilty of. And yet, the evidence, though circumstantial, painted a haunting picture. 27 patients had collapsed from unexplained respiratory arrests. Many were connected to the two nurses. Traces of povulon appeared in their bodies. And the pattern was undeniable. When the trial began in 1977, the courtroom was suffocating with tension. Families of the dead sat clutching photographs. Reporters scribbled every detail. The two women, dressed modestly, stared down at their hands, their faces unreadable. The prosecution called them sadists. The defense called them scapegoats. And through it all, the truth trembled somewhere in between. Day after day, witnesses testified. Some recalled seeing them near the rooms of dying patients. Others spoke of racism among staff, of resentment toward the foreign nurses who worked harder, smiled softer, and spoke with strange, lilting accents. The line between fact and fear blurred. By the end, the jury convicted them, guilty on multiple counts. The air in the courtroom turned to ice. The women didn't cry. They simply bowed their heads, as if the weight of the world had finally pressed too hard against their shoulders. But the story didn't end there. Months later, a federal judge reviewed the case. He found inconsistencies, misconduct, coerced testimony. He overturned the convictions. Filipina Narciso and Leonora Perez walked free, but freedom didn't bring peace. The country had already made up its mind. They were guilty in the eyes of the public, innocent on paper, trapped in a purgatory where truth no longer mattered. They returned home quietly. No one celebrated their release. The families of the dead still had no answers. The hospital fell silent again, and that silence, it lingered, because the deaths never stopped haunting those halls. No one was ever convicted again. No one ever confessed. And the ghosts of those men, the soldiers, the fathers, the brothers, still hover in the corners of that story. Were Narciso and Perez murderers or martyrs of fear and prejudice? Did they truly inject death into the veins of the men they swore to heal? Or were they caught in a current too powerful, too cruel to survive? Sometimes the truth dies long before the body does. And when the last breath leaves, it doesn't always leave peace behind. Hi, and welcome back to Last Breath Diaries, where we peel back the layers of medicine's darkest moments, the kind that force you to question what you know, who you trust, and how far the human heart can go when it dances on the edge of mercy and murder. Trust is fragile, faith is fickle, and sometimes the hands that save you are the same hands that take your last breath. Thank you for stepping into the dark side of medicine with me tonight. Until next time, breathe carefully.